Bill Jones, inducted in 1997.
All right. And then, so tell us how you got interested in athletic training and give us a brief synopsis of your career.
You know, basically, I went to Bowling Green and was a student, and obviously not tall enough to play basketball, which I really liked, and but I like sports. And Dale Googans, one of the original members of the Hall of Fame, was an assistant trainer. And I looked in the training room one day and said, "What are they doing there?" And he says, "Well, come on in, I'll show you." Been there ever since. It was one of those things where it was interesting, and you were taking care of kids, and you're around sports, and that's basically what got me started. And then I just progressed on from there.
So, describe to us a typical day when you were a college student or your first job after graduating.
Most of the time, we got preferential treatment as far as class schedules because all practices were in the afternoons. So a lot of classes in the morning, and then go to the training room at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're there till 6 o'clock at night, or 6:30 or 7, depending on who's practicing. And we had at Bowling Green, we were all in one facility, so we had the worst time of the year was probably from October 1st on, because that was the finishing of football, basketball was starting, wrestling, all in the same building.
Had that overlap.
And the training room was not very big, and it was all overlapped together, and so that was a real challenge. But it was because you're talking 3 student trainers and a head trainer and an assistant. That was it. Mm-hmm. It was all men at that time too, so that was a challenge, but it was rewarding because you're the only one there, and a lot of things you had to do were, you did them. Al Sadi would show you how to do it. You do it. That's it.
So how did you document things?
We wrote things down on paper. We had a treatment sheet over here, and we filled out small injury reports on 3x5 cards, and that's how we kept track of things. I mean, in today's climate, my God, everybody's walking around with iPads and punch in your injury and boom, you're done. And it's really technical. In some cases, it's great, but I'm glad I don't have to deal with it now. Now that I'm retired.
So what's the biggest change you've seen in athletic training?
The biggest thing that I've seen in athletic training is, number one, there's more knowledge, tremendous knowledge. From the biggest thing I can see is when I started in athletic training, we probably didn't know what an ACL was. The knowledge of the trainers today is great from the standpoint of what we dealt with. A guy tore an ACL back when I first started, when I was a student. Your knee would swell up, and in 3 days the knee goes down, the swelling's gone, and the kid said, it doesn't feel too bad, it's just a little loose. Well, we'll tape it up and you can go. And we did. And there were probably numbers and numbers of ACLs over the nation that were missed because we didn't know. The doctors were not familiar with these types of athletic injuries. And I think that's the biggest change now, is the knowledge aspect of it. I mean, the kids are so much smarter now. We didn't have any books. There were no books on athletic training. There was a Bible, they called it the Bible, which I have a copy of.
The original
Bible, and then I've got another book that I just loaned out to the grad assistant at BG. Another book, 2 old books on athletic training were produced in 1957, and they're just amazed. They look at it and go, what? There's diagrams, there's pictures, and of taping methods and taping the thumb and the fingers, and so that's the biggest change. Is the more knowledge we get, the better we are to take care of players, and that's the important thing.
So, if you could change one thing in athletic training, what would it be?
Today? It's a good question, because I got one that really irks me.
Let's hear it.
As a student trainer, and as a head trainer at Bowling Green, my students got a lot of on-field experience. today's climate, the lawyer-driven climate, those students can't do anything. They're not learning the things. They're book kids. They're good books. They know it, but they've never actually. I had students. We get a kid with an MCL sprain, and you stress it, and you can see it open. Those kids never get to touch those things, and I always let my kids, with the consent of the athlete, which they didn't care. Go ahead and say it. I don't care. It hurts anyhow. So, but we let them feel it. We let them feel what a drawer sign looks like, and they don't get that practical. I had 4 student trainers. 2 of them are head trainers now that worked hockey by themselves as senior students. Mm-hmm. I broke them in the second half of their junior year. Their senior year, they took over hockey while I was at football. And then Thanksgiving came, I was done football. Now it's never done, but now it was then done in that time. And then I would go over and take care of hockey all year until spring football, and then I'd go back to football again. Because there were only 2 head trainers, myself and my assistant, and a female assistant. So basically, that's the thing that concerns me the most about the students coming up now. They don't get a lot of the practical making a decision. When I was a student trainer, I had to travel with a freshman football team by myself.
Yeah.
And I'm a junior. And I had a head coach, and I had a bunch of grad assistant coaches. And we go on the road with 40-some football players, and I'm by myself. I got to make the decisions. And the coaches were really good at that time because they said, anything you tell me, that's whether I was right or wrong.
Did you feel prepared to make those?
Well, I guess I was, but I was scared to death. I was scared to death my first time as a head trainer. When I went from the University of Toledo as an assistant trainer, I went to Ashland University as a head trainer. And now I'm looking around going, shoot, I got to make these decisions now. And it just comes with experience, I guess.
Do you have any pearls of wisdom for younger members?
Don't be a clock watcher. In my last couple years, I would get so perturbed at students that would look at the clock. It's time to go. And when you said, okay, you guys can go, man, they were all like a rocket. Previous to that, I had to kick guys out of the training room. The head trainer at Duke University, I had to kick him out of the training room all the time. He was one of my students. And I suspended him for a year because of grades. I kicked him out for a semester. I said, that's it, you're done. You got to get your grades up. You can't play. Boy, it killed him. But he comes back and tells me it's the best thing that ever happened to me. But he was one of those kids that was there in the training room. We sit around the training room and talk. You know, they'll sit around there and I'm kicking them out. Get out of here, guys. I want to go home. But that's the biggest difference, and it's a pro. Hey, you're not going to learn anything. The books are going to help you. But you got to be in there. You got to see stuff. You got to see all these things. You got to see the compound fractures, and you got to see the dislocated shoulders. What's it look like on a female as opposed to a male? I mean, you got to look at all those things. And if you're not there, you're not going to see it. It's a sadistic job, really. When you don't have any injuries for a whole day, it's kind of boring today. Didn't have to do anything, you know. And when an interesting day, and also not a difficult day for the players, but you know, you gotta be in there. You gotta get your hands dirty. They can call it.
So, what is the one quote you're known for, or students have a certain phrase that you always say?
Jeez. A lot of them you probably can't use on tape or on video.
I really don't have a lot of quotes. I just maybe the look. I used to make kids nervous by just standing over and watching. I had a kid sweating on his tape job because I was watching him tape. And they said, well, it's right. I said, that's not your best one. That's not your best one. Your best one is the last one you're going to do. I guess that's probably one of the things that I always told the kids when they're a trainer. You tape an ankle, and if you tape it awful, there's wrinkles, all that kind of stuff. What's the athlete think of you? If you can't tape an ankle correctly, or it's sloppy, how are they going to think of you later on when you're starting to evaluate their injuries or this and that? And so I've always told them, you know, you guys, when you're doing something, do it good. I don't care how long it takes you, just do it good, because he's going to gain respect for you because you know what you're doing. So I have not taped my best ankle, and I've been retired for 12 years. Once in a while I'll tape some high school kids in a tournament or something, you know, but they said, do you know how to do this? Yeah, I think I know how to do it. But I think that's the skill-wise. You do your skills good, then that improves your capabilities to talk to the players and tell them, you know, well, you've got a sprained elbow, or you got an AC separation, you can feel it and so forth. So I guess that's the one pearl of wisdom, I guess. I don't know how much of a wisdom pearl it is, but
No, it's good. So, what is the best part of being an athletic trainer?
the best part is seeing an athlete who is severely injured and comes back and participates at a high level and is very comfortable. That makes me feel the best. And one example I can give you is I had a kid with a dislocated knee in spring football. Tore 4 out of the 5 ligaments completely. Dislocated his kneecap. He came back, he had reconstruction surgery, was out a year. The following year, played every game. And the last game of the year, I was taping his ankles. Kenny Burns was the kid's name. And he was sitting on the table and I was taping his ankle. He says, Kenny, you've done a great job this year. Got through the whole year, no problems, no swelling, didn't miss any games, didn't miss a practice. And he says, I'm glad this is the last one, though. But that makes you feel good. When kids come back from an injury, a severe, devastating injury, or even just minor injuries, but that's the thing that makes you feel good. Because you did the right thing, you held him out to the right time to go back. And a lot of them, hockey players, are notorious. They can break their arm and they want to play the next day. And sometimes you have to say, okay, go ahead and play. I'll tape it up. We'll brace it. We'll do what we got to do. And when they come off the field, they say, you're right, I can't do it. You have to show them. They have to be shown. And I think that's the cool part. Is, you know, I know you can't play. I know you can't play to be effective today. But you want to try, you go right ahead. I'll protect you to the best of my ability, and we'll go from there.
Oh,